Welcome to the deep dive. Sometimes you hear these stories of incredible resilience, just born from the absolute toughest situations.
Yeah, truly unimaginable hardships sometimes.
Exactly. And today we're diving into one of those. We're looking at Nkrumah's powerful lessons learned story. It's this really heart-wrenching account of a surrogate mother who gets abandoned with the baby.
Mm.
And we're going to look at it through the lens of a self-improvement tool called the GRACE framework.
Right, and our goal here really is to see how this framework gives you a way to respond, balancing, your emotions, logic, and actually building habits from it.
Okay.
What's fascinating is how Nkrumah, intuitively, really, she kind of lived out a lot of these principles, even under intense pressure.
Without even knowing the framework, maybe.
Exactly. And then on the flip side, we'll look at the other characters, the Obies, and how maybe, just maybe, using this framework could have led to a totally different outcome. And the idea is to show how you, listening, can maybe turn those difficult moments in your own life into, well, meaningful growth.
Okay, so let's unpack this GRACE framework then. What is it, fundamentally? What are the principles?
Sure. So GRACE is basically a 5-step approach to self-improvement. It builds step by step. First up is G, gentleness.
And gentleness.
Yeah. Treating yourself with compassion, especially, when you mess up or face a setback. Acknowledging feelings kindly.
Okay, makes sense. What's next?
R is for reflection. This is about finding the lesson, the insight, asking yourself, okay, what good can actually come out of this situation?
Finding the silver lining, sort of.
Kind of, but deeper maybe. Then A is accountability. Taking ownership for your part, but crucially without blame or shame. It's just owning your role.
Right, not pointing fingers even at yourself necessarily.
Exactly. Then C is correction. This means putting in place real solutions, often at the root cause, to stop it happening again. Maybe changing a boundary, learning a skill, or fixing a system in your life.
So actual change, not just thinking about it.
Precisely. And finally, E is embedding. This is about creating small, doable habits that reinforce the change, making that growth stick.
Embedding, like making it part of who you are.
You got it. And like you said earlier, it's about persistent, compassionate progress. Grace isn't about being perfect.
I really like that distinction, persistent progress.
Yes.
Okay, to make this real, let's get into Nkrumah's story. Just give us the rundown again.
Okay, so Nkrumah, young woman, desperate situation, agrees to be a surrogate for the Obies who couldn't have children.
Right.
She gives birth and then, bam, they leave her. Just abandon her with the baby, a note, and the money's gone. The note, keep the bastard.
Ugh. Just devastated. What was her immediate reaction?
She said she wanted to scream, understandably, but then she looked down at this tiny baby and something shifted. She said, she was no bastard, she was mine.
Wow. In that moment.
In that very moment. And this is where you can really see grace starting to work, even if she didn't call it that. That shift, that's gentleness. She acknowledged that urge to scream, that pain, but didn't let it consume her. Instead, she turned to compassion not just for herself maybe, but immediately for this baby. She was mine. That's choosing connection over despair.
Okay, I see that.
And later, she even framed it with this incredible self-kindness, saying, I didn't choose to be your mother, but God did. That's gentleness towards herself amidst all the judgment she must have faced.
And that gentleness, it seems like it opened the door for the next step.
Yeah.
Reflection.
Absolutely. Her reflection was incredibly powerful. She didn't just accept the situation, she reframed it. Azin, the baby, wasn't a bastard. She became prophecy, her reason.
Finding purpose in the pain.
Exactly. That purpose fueled everything, leading eventually to her charity, Bastards No More. And then there's accountability. She didn't argue about the contract or waste time blaming. She took immediate radical ownership. I was her womb, then her world. That's agency.
Taking control back, in a way.
Yes. And that led directly to correction. She didn't just tweak things, she overhauled her entire life system. Sold everything, started hawking goods, and later built that charity to address the root cause of abandonment she experienced, but for others.
A massive correction.
Huge. And finally, embedding. Her entire life became dedicated to Izin and this cause. Daily struggles, building her organizations, Miracle Hands, and Bastards No More. That wasn't a one-off fix. It was embedding a whole new identity consistently day in, day out.
It really shows how, like she said, anger rots what grace can rebuild. Her transformation is just remarkable.
It truly is. But now let's pivot. What happens when grace is, well, missing? Let's look at Mr. and Mrs. OB.
Right. Their challenge was childlessness, which led them to surrogacy.
Mhm.
But then at the birth, their big fear was scandal.
Exactly. And their story's like a cautionary tale. You see the consequences when these principles are absent or actively avoided. They definitely lacked gentleness.
Towards Nkiruka and the baby, clearly.
Yes, but also towards themselves, perhaps? They acted out of fear, putting their image above everything, above human connection. They didn't seem to pause and acknowledge their own difficult feelings. Fear, maybe shame with any kindness. It was just panic.
And that panic blocked any chance for reflection.
It seems like it. At the moment of birth, all they saw was scandal. No room for reflection on the situation, on the new life, on other possibilities. Mrs. Obie's big regret, I regret everything, came 17 years later. That's delayed insight, born of long-term pain.
Which could have maybe been processed earlier with reflection and accountability. Their first move was the opposite.
Precisely. Leaving the note was peak avoidance of accountability. Now, Mrs. Obie did confess eventually, years later, but the framework encourages owning your part at the time, without the crippling blame or shame, because that's what allows for resolution and healing sooner.
Instead of letting it fester.
Right. And their version of correction, instead of tackling the root cause, their fear of what society thought, their fear of imperfection, maybe their correction was abandonment.
Which solved nothing, really.
In the long run, no. Applying grace might have pushed them to actually reevaluate their core values, maybe make very different, more compassionate choices. And what did they embed?
Avoidance. Guilt.
Seems likely. Avoidance, regret, probably years of unspoken guilt and distance. It's a stark contrast. It really highlights how much power lies in our active choices when facing challenges, even huge ones.
It really does. So bringing this home for everyone listening, what's the key takeaway?
I think it's that the GRACE framework isn't just a nice idea, it's a practical tool. It offers a pathway to turn those really hard, messy moments in life into genuine transformation.
So for you listening right now,
Yeah.
maybe think about a challenge you're facing. It doesn't have to be as dramatic as Nikuruka's, but something tough.
Yeah.
How might approaching that challenge with gentleness first, the reflection, accountability, correction, and finally embedding? How might that change not just the outcome, but how you feel about it and maybe even who you become through it?
It's a powerful question to sit with.
So for all of us listening right now, how can we start applying grace in our own daily lives, maybe big challenges or just small interactions, to cultivate this compassionate progress?
It starts simpler than you might think. You can literally use something like the Grace Journal template. When a challenge pops up, big or small, ask yourself these questions. Gee, okay, what am I feeling right now? How can I show some compassion here to myself and maybe to others involved? What insight, even a tiny one, can I take away from the situation, no matter how tough it feels? A, how did I contribute? Honestly, what was my specific part in this? C, what will I actually do differently next time? What's the root cause fix? E, and what small habit, just one tiny thing, can I start doing to reinforce this growth?
So GRACE, ask the questions.
Exactly. And remember, please remember, grace isn't about being perfect. Nobody is. It's about persistent, compassionate progress, little by little. Applying it consistently, even imperfectly, builds emotional resilience, leads to fewer repeated mistakes, and really does enhance your relationships and, importantly, your self-trust.
That's a really powerful thought to carry forward. The lessons learned story, it's not just about what could have happened differently, is it? It's about the profound, often quiet, power of choosing intentional, compassionate action step by graceful step. How that can truly transform life and even ripple outwards to build systems of hope right out of deep pain. It reminds us that our deepest growth often comes not from dodging conflict, but maybe from facing it with grace. We really hope this deep dive helps you cultivate your own compassionate progress, turning every challenge, big or small, into a chance to grow.